Chapter 13. Search the effectiveness of the fifth squad was clear. They already had several leads on the possible locations of the false demon princes. When they interrogated the old woman who had exchanged the ring for the dark energy doll, she claimed that the ring, called ecstasy, had been passed down through her family. She also said that the other three families tied to the infernal weapons had disappeared after clashing with each other many years ago. It was believed that the ring was just a legend, and no one could ever summon the physical form of the princes. The old woman tried to profit by trading it, and it turned out to be the real one, waiting for its worthy bearer. They found the names of the other three false princes: Hysteria, Euphoria, and Paranoia. According to legend, some infernals disagreed with their leader, Belzer, and abandoned the lower plane to come to our world and claim it as their territory. They created demon princes, but the infernal forces do not recognize them, nor do they obey any of them, let alone humans. In order to survive on this plane, they joined with mortals, abandoning their immortality in the process, and founded four powerful families with hidden treasures. The four jewels of conquest are the Ring of Ecstasy, the Bracelet of Hysteria, the Necklace of Euphoria, and the Diadem of Paranoia. Together, these tools would allow their descendants to conquer the middle and lower planes, and then heaven itself. However, the worldly interests of the family members caused them to forget this plan, and their precious jewels were lost in battles and betrayals. The bracelet was kept in a Gothic-style museum that had several items related to the world between worlds. A battalion from the second squad was already guarding the museum. A famous collector who knew ancient runes owned the diadem. Captain Harriet was going to meet with the collector to ensure that the diadem didn't fall into the wrong hands. As for the necklace, there were only suspicions in 3 different locations that seemed unrelated. According to Julian's report, a deranged old man living in a dilapidated house had a necklace that emitted powerful dark energy. The first squad was tasked with going to each location, facing whatever they found, and retrieving the necklace to prevent the path from increasing their power. Perhaps Didi and Whiteface craved the same power as Bastille, wanting to become an almost unstoppable force and expose the truth about the world to mortals. In 2 days, they would begin the search. First, they devised battle formations to assess whether they should fight together. Max shared everything about his now better-controlled powers and his new katana abilities. Sasha asked him to face her in training to test his new powers. Unlike the first time they fought, Sasha no longer had such an advantage. The True Shadow Path was an almost infallible technique against various fighting styles. Even when she increased her energy to nearly its maximum level, she couldn't quickly take down Max. For his part, Max practiced other modes of attack and defense. He had mastered up to the 4th mode, along with its respective balances, and had combined it with his maximum shadow to create a couple of techniques. Although the training had gone on for too long, Sasha didn't want to stop. She was looking for something more in that fight, perhaps a way to improve her strikes and thrusts. "Use your best technique with all your power, rookie," Sasha told him. "I don't think I can do that," Max replied, sounding surprised. "How will you know if they work if you don't try them?" Sasha argued impatiently. "If something goes wrong and I hurt you, I'll never forgive myself," Max said, looking worried. "I doubt you'll even touch me, kid," the Guardian said mockingly. "Think of me as the enemy. Don't hesitate or hold back in your training. If you keep this up, you won't be able to increase your power." "You're only interested in power for revenge," Max said in a graver tone. "That's my business, and Whiteface will fall. You have strength like his because you block my attacks and your strikes have a lot of energy. If I can defeat you at your maximum power, I can end his pathetic existence." "After you kill him, what will happen?" Max asked, sounding annoyed. "My brother will be able to rest in peace," she replied with incredible resolve. Hearing this, Max put his mask back on and concentrated all his energy into his katana. Sasha took a fighting stance, smiled, and began the attack. She danced the ascending dragon dance, and the fire marks formed the body of the beast. Max began with his Shadow's Path. Mode 1 was always the beginning of the others. The swords clashed in a choreography of fire and shadow that was impressive to behold. When the time came for the final step, Max swiftly changed his grip and tilted his body to the right, launching his technique. Modified Shadow Balance 4, Dragon Slash. A dragon emerged from Max's katana and collided with Sasha's fire dragon head-on. The two dragons began to entwine and rise, radiating powerful energy. The contenders clashed their weapons to see who was stronger. Max noticed the look in his companion's eyes and saw that beneath all the rage, she felt sadness and loneliness. The young man took a small step to the right, giving Sasha the advantage and pushing him away. "Why did you stop?" Sasha shouted angrily. "I need more practice," Max said as he got up. "Don't lie to me," Sasha said. "You could have won." "I know you like winning more than I do. I'm not used to it," the injured young man said, laughing a little. "It's not just about winning. Don't hold back, because if at any point on this journey we face each other as enemies, believe me, I won't care who you are." "I'll kill you and anyone who tries to harm me," Sasha said. Pain showed through her hardened expression. Max understood the girl better now, and all she had been through since Bastile's betrayal. They couldn't afford to let their guard down for a moment. He decided to honor the organization and its losses by always using his full power. The boy got back into a fighting stance, letting Sasha know they weren't done yet. She nodded, jumped back a few steps, and did the same. They practiced the rest of the day. After their training, Sasha was a little more satisfied and curious. She asked him the real reason for joining the guard instead of living a normal life like before. Max, with his gaze lost in the distance, replied, "I've never felt like an essential part of anything before. In the places I've been before, I was just one more face in the crowd. Here, though, I feel different and stronger. I know the organization's purpose is to care for and protect people, and I want to be part of that mission. Somehow that's my destiny. I want to use my abilities to ensure no one is harmed. I know I have a long way to go to reach the level of those here, but I want to try to protect them." "Who?" asked the girl with braided hair. "Those around me," Max replied. "That makes me stronger, I think." "You're so naive and cheesy," Sasha mocked. But she could feel great strength and confidence in that shy boy. The information about the location of one of the necklaces led them to a residential area of the city. Everything there seemed normal. Moderate traffic, children running around with their parents, and ordinary commercial establishments. In short, there was nothing strange. When they arrived at the supposed house where the jewel should be, they only saw a large traditional family. They investigated in case something was hidden there, perhaps concealment or protection runes, but found nothing. Everything was mundane. The family's small dog barked at them fiercely, and that was it. Max used teleportation to enter the house and search for dark energies similar to those of the ring. He found an old necklace with rusted edges in one of the rooms. Traced on that item was a rune, very small, like an ant. That was why they suspected it wasn't an ordinary necklace. When they took it out and handed it to their lieutenant, they identified an emission rune. It was meant to confuse those seeking the real jewel. It's possible that the path was behind the false lead. However, according to Ryan, the rune was quite old. Someone else must have been involved. They decided to leave everything as it was, and a small investigative team remained in the area to see if any suspects approached the property. They went to the second location, where a deranged old man lived in a dilapidated house. At first glance, it seemed that no one lived there. The neighborhood was completely different from the previous one. It was desolate, with abandoned houses and homeless people roaming the streets. Many illegal businesses were conducted there. There were rune protections around the house, so the first squad split into two groups to investigate them and determine if they could enter. According to the information they had, the person who lived there never left, not even to eat. Those who approached the place were exposed to terrible diseases. The runes that were traced all over the place were difficult to identify, so the squad assumed that they were very old. Thomas believed that the energy used was very different from human energy, possibly because a different being was guarding the Necklace of Euphoria. The lieutenant located the 4 support runes of the barrier. Everyone positioned themselves at one of the runes to begin weakening them and proceeded to enter the house. They simultaneously traced containment and nullification runes to create a breach. At Ryan's signal, they activated the runes in sync. The reaction began immediately. The energy was powerful and difficult to break. They had to persist. They increased their essence level and a small crack appeared at Sasha's position. With great skill, she traced a fire rune that entered the property and caused a small explosion inside. Through the few uncovered windows of the house, a figure began to be seen. They nullified the first runes of the barrier. Max quickly entered the house using high-speed teleportation, creating an opening in the main door through which all his companions could enter and investigate together. The place was destroyed. What was once furniture was now just pieces of rotten wood. Humidity hung in the air, and an energy similar to that of the ring emanated from the second floor. They split up again to cover more ground. Sasha and Max stayed on the ground floor. Thomas and Ryan went upstairs with their weapons ready and on guard. The group on the ground floor could only see runes intertwined like a spider's web everywhere, and they felt someone was watching them. Meanwhile, the other 2 upstairs found remains of silver and black armor, but there were no traces of energy. Someone must have been investigating something there and failed. Footprints and handprints were visible on the dusty floors and walls throughout the place. When they entered a closed room, a large figure attacked them by surprise and fled. The lieutenant immediately signaled those below to intercept and capture him. Despite his large size, he was very fast. He broke through one of the house's walls with a single blow and escaped. Max, now more accustomed to his space jump and teleportation techniques, managed to alter the target's trajectory. The target dodged the slash of the black katana and pushed the adversary away. Ryan and Sasha arrived at the same time to block his escape. Thomas completed the encirclement, trapping him. When he removed his hood, they saw a rough-looking man with pronounced age marks and shiny silver hair. Around his neck was one of the jewels of conquest, emitting powerful dark energy. "I am Kiros," the man said in a strong voice. "I am an eternal and your superior. How dare you invade and destroy my home?" "We are from the guard," Ryan said, his pistols raised. "We are looking for the Necklace of Euphoria to safeguard it." "You are not worthy to be near me, let alone lay a finger on my precious treasure. I will kill you this instant," Kiros threatened. "A group of subversives is after this necklace," Sasha informed him. "They've already taken the Ring of Ecstasy and now they want the next item." "They will perish just like you," the Eternal declared. "Simple humans could never dominate the power of a demon prince. Only we Eternals have the energy and body to withstand such power." "The leader of the savages has already summoned the false prince, and his companions want to do the same," Ryan warned him. "That's impossible. Only the heirs of Nurum could summon him. I made sure to eliminate them all," the banished Infernal said, concern evident on his face. "We don't know how he did it," Sasha said, "but we're sure they're close to finding out." "I set many traps and made fake necklaces to cover my tracks," Kiros laughed. "They won't be able to get me." "If we catch up with you, they will too," Thomas declared. "Pathetic terrestrials. You think you rule this world, but you will soon see a new supreme ruler. When Euphoria awakens, you won't be able to stop me. I will recover the other jewels and create the new Demon King. Not even Satan will be able to stand against me." Kiros began to laugh like a madman, his eyes showing madness and danger. Max arrived with his guard up, and the Eternal stopped completely upon feeling that peculiar energy. He looked back at Kiros, whose laughter had turned to astonishment. "I thought the damned Celestials had destroyed you," Kiros said. "You and my future king will rule everything." "I've never seen you in my life," Max said. "I'm not talking to you, filthy terrestrial. I'm addressing Umbra. His power goes beyond anything, and I know we can defeat them all now." "That's not going to happen," Max warned, getting into a fighting stance. Kiros started laughing again. He dropped the dirty old cloak that had been covering him. His body was in great shape, and he started releasing a lot of energy. In an instant, he threw a punch at Max. He could only hold it for a moment, but the force was immense. His companions joined him and pushed back the Eternal, who moved swiftly. The first squad received orders to form the Alpha 2 battle formation. They took their positions to better fight their powerful opponent. Max had never faced an Eternal before, and the difference was substantial. The Eternals could manipulate their soul essence at will, enabling them to perform rune traces without using their fingers. Their energy simply took the shape of whatever they wanted, allowing them to perform their techniques precisely and quickly. The formation the first squad executed was designed to provide cover for Max, preventing his capture while allowing him to attack from a distance. Ryan and Sasha moved around the target to launch fire attacks. Thomas changed direction to cover the three members. Kiros, a battle specialist, quickly identified the formation. The lieutenant was the only one who could put up more of a fight, so Kiros tried to throw him off balance to go for Umbra. The enemy's defenses stopped Max's maximum shadow attacks. Although he managed to land a couple of hits, the enemy's protection was very powerful. Steam came out of Kiros's body and he became enraged. His movement slowed because the years he spent on that plane reduced his abilities, and he was no longer accustomed to using his essence for such prolonged battles. He shouted loudly and dark energy emanated from his body. The necklace absorbed all that power and began to turn completely black. The Infernal's body was no longer as strong as before, and the age marks were more pronounced. Behind him stood a figure resembling a warrior in black and silver armor. On one side, he had an extremely sharp edge. Kiros gave almost all of his vital energy to the infernal weapon to awaken its powers. The weapon changed into a large single-edged axe. The attacks resumed, and Max was the main target. Using Defense Mode 2, he contained the enormous power of his adversary, and the others joined the fight. Kiros knew how to handle his weapon perfectly. His fighting style changed, allowing him to fight 4 opponents at once. Ryan couldn't risk removing his power limiters at that moment. His companions were too close, and they would be harmed if exposed to his great thermal power. Therefore, he charged at the Infernal to push it away and increase his force level. Once they were far enough away, he removed his coat and hat. As he did so, a long, pale hand emerged from the ground, pierced his leg, and paralyzed the lieutenant. Kiros left Ryan there and headed for his main target. The other 3 members were worried when they didn't see him. The Eternal's attack prevented them from searching properly. Max and Sasha joined forces to create an opening, allowing Thomas to search for his companion. When Thomas found Ryan, he saw his injured leg and the poison oozing from the wound. When Ryan removed his blockers, his power contracted for a moment and his body became vulnerable to physical attacks. Someone took advantage of this to remove him from the fight. Ryan used all his knowledge of healing runes, but the toxin petrified his lieutenant without killing him. The long-range axe attacks were powerful and separated Sasha and Max for a few seconds. Kiros launched another dark slash at the girl, who had lost her balance and couldn't block it effectively. Max acted on instinct. He plunged his katana into the ground and concentrated all his power to defend his companion. Before the slash could hit Sasha, a large shadow weapon emerged from the ground to protect her. Sasha used her sharp instincts to her advantage, making a swift space jump that hit the Eternal and damaged his physical integrity. Kiros's body looked even older than before. His expression remained the same, as did the power of the infernal weapon. However, the attacks were no longer precise or fast, so he wouldn't last long. Determined to end this, Max teleported into an attack position, but the axe seemed to move on its own. The old Infernal's body was still wounded. Euphoria could still defend itself by reflex. Thomas arrived, briefly explained what had happened, and they agreed to launch a combined attack to end the battle. He couldn't stop all 3 at the same time. They concentrated their energy and launched their techniques in different directions at the same target. Before impact, the axe moved to block the shadow attack. The other two hit the mark. Two more figures defended the infernal, Plumps and Whiteface. Together, they blocked the other attacks to prevent Kiros from getting hurt. He seemed unconscious, his eyes open with a mad gaze. Didi arrived wearing a purple and green suit. This time, pieces of cloth emerged from her clothing and wrapped around the old man. The axe protected its user again, prompting the other two to put up their guard. Sasha and Thomas both attacked their respective opponents without hesitation. Max raised his guard, ready to face the woman who winked at him and went to Kiros' side. Before he could react, she cut the Eternal's hand with her sharp nails. Without an energy source, the axe turned back into a necklace and fell to the ground. Max shot out to stop them from taking the jewel. Didi wrapped Kiros' immobile body and took him away through one of her portals. She blew a kiss to the boy and thanked him for his excellent work. The other two quickly followed and disappeared. Everyone immediately regrouped with Ryan to check his condition. He could move a little now, and frustration dominated his face. They had fallen into the path's trap. They had weakened the Eternal so they could take the necklace. What was suspicious was that they didn't take the infernal weapon, they left it there. Thomas hypothesized that they needed Kiros to modify ecstasy so that Bastille could naturally handle it. Ryan had a different idea. Perhaps his dark energy would be the perfect source and wouldn't contaminate the current bearer. When the other squads arrived at the scene, they made sure that no one touched the necklace or the severed hand. Captain Lewis personally took these two items for investigation. Analyzing the cells of the Eternals to see their properties would give them a unique advantage over their enemies. The fourth squad took blood samples from Ryan to identify the toxin and ensure that he wouldn't be in danger in the future. They analyzed the runes in the old house to see if they could find anything else. Although the mission was successful in obtaining the necklace, the members of the first squad felt they had failed by allowing the path to take Kiros. Who knows what they would do with him? A feeling of concern overwhelmed them. They went to the last known location of the third necklace. They knew it was fake, but they hoped to find clues about the path's intentions regarding the capture of the Eternal. Ryan couldn't accompany them because he had to go directly to the guard's medical facilities to be treated for the toxin and report to the commander. Although the others went quickly, they arrived too late. The place was destroyed, but the fake necklace was still there. Like the first necklace they found, this one had a very small energy emission rune, which Didi used to find them. The battle didn't last long. The site was one of the hideouts of a group dedicated to the exchange of demonic artifacts. Besides conducting illegal businesses to raise money, they had no allies outside of their own members, even though they served Bastille. Someone else was there. Evangeline watched her enemies investigate the place in silence. She needed an opportunity to talk to Max. She believed that if she explained the path's reasons to him, he might empathize with their cause and join them. Her father had told her the story of Umbra and how it could bring true peace to the world. When they finally separated to investigate better, she followed the boy to a burned room. With a quick movement of his right hand, Max put on the black mask and a katana appeared in his hands. He was ready to attack. "I haven't come to fight," Evangeline said, raising her hands. "Nor have I come to talk to you," Max replied. "We haven't had a proper moment to talk," she said, trying to calm things down. "You only seek to conquer the world based on supremacist ideologies," Max said, convinced. "The path did transform into strict ideals, I admit," the silver-haired girl commented. "But before that, the idea was to unify the world so we could all live in peace." "It's just a trap. Your big friend must be ready to attack," said Max, looking around attentively. "Big Jack is still injured from our last encounter. I came alone this time. No one knows I'm here." Evangeline seemed sincere. "I need you to hear me out and understand the origin of the path so you can know the other side of the story. Bastille's current actions have no justification. He's willing to do terrible things." "Tell me, what's his plan?" Max inquired. "The original plan was to share knowledge with everyone. At least that was my father's intention," she replied nostalgically. "Who is your father?" Max asked again. A few years ago, he got involved where he shouldn't have been and was captured by the guard. Bastille himself met with him and thus came into contact with the ideology of mass awakening that my father had proposed many years ago. The guard misinterpreted things and imprisoned him for life, Evangeline complained. After saying this, she threw Max a card with a rune traced on it. "What is this?" Max asked again. "It's a safe way for us to communicate. If you want, at midnight it will create a link that will allow us to talk better," she replied. "Demonic energies are detectable at headquarters. This must be a way to spy on us," Max said reproachfully. "I don't use that kind of energy. I use the spiritual force of nature," said Evangeline. The silver wolf appeared on her back again, but it didn't emit any energy, so they couldn't detect it. "This is Haiti," she said. "He's the last of the moonwolf spirits. It's an inheritance from my father. He's neither demon nor human, but he has great power. He will help us in our meeting." "I don't feel any energy from him," Max said, sounding very surprised. "Because he doesn't feel threatened," she replied with a small smile. Max agreed to meet with the girl, but warned her that if it was a trap, he wouldn't hesitate to defend himself. She agreed and left. Sasha and Thomas were calling him. When he rejoined them, they asked if he had found anything. He denied it. He felt bad about lying to them, but they wouldn't understand what had just happened. They took some samples and headed to headquarters to report what they had seen.